Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna say things today that I never thought I would say. The biggest thing being that I was actually pleased when the She-Hulk finale was over. And not just because it was over, but because this episode pretty much confirms every single thing that I've ever said about the MCU over the past few years. Let's discuss. Our content sucks. Our content sucks. Yes, Queen! Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Call it validation, call it vindication, call it whatever you want. But She-Hulk just delivered something to me that satisfies me to my very core. But before I get into that, there was a portion of this episode that we'll just classify as a false finish. It features a lot of familiar characters returning, and a lot of big reveals about who the real villain of this story is. And spoiler alert, it's pretty much anyone who dares to criticize female characters.
Fuck me, right?
There's actually a whole conversation at this intelligentsia meeting. Talk about how characters like female Thor suck. And see, this is the beauty of this episode. Because that's supposed to be a meta commentary on the supposed misogynistic, toxic fan base that is ruining Marvel right now. But if you read between the lines, it's actually Marvel Studios letting everyone know exactly what they think of a good portion of their fan base. They do not value your opinion and they do not want you.
Anybody care about what I want?
I do.
Shut up. Get out.
And from my perspective, this is a portion of the fan base that rightfully criticizes poorly written characters. This is not just about female characters. I'm on record myself saying the male version of Thor actually sucks too. So once again, they're throwing out these blanket statements and these comparisons, and quite literally making themselves look like a fool. But let me assure you, it didn't stop there, it actually got even better. The bulk of this episode involves She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall and breaking the universe. She actually crosses over into our universe and tells the writers of She-Hulk that they're doing a shitty job with this finale.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
And the writers respond to her, this is the story that Kevin wanted to tell. Oh, that's beautiful. So she goes to the Marvel Studios headquarters to meet Kevin, but instead of Kevin Feige, we see a AI robot version of him. Kevin then proceeds to admit that he has the most advanced entertainment algorithm in the world, and it produces a near perfect product. And this comes right after he tells She-Hulk to please transform off screen, because the visual effects team is busy and it will cost too much to bring that to life.
No shit.
So in the matter of just a few moments, She-Hulk references the MCU in a very meta way being ran by a robot, being formulaic, and taking shortcuts with CGI. And some might ask, why is this significant? Well, I've already seen some MCU fans defending this as being clever and self-aware. But here's the funny part about that, is that those same people who adamantly defend the MCU used to deny that Marvel did any of these things. But now the goalpost has moved because Marvel themselves are admitting it. And then you have someone like me who's been saying this shit for years feeling validated.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Their own meta commentary on themselves completely collapsed on itself, and it was glorious. Not to mention the fact that they've now admitted that they are aware of these problems. It now puts pressure on them to actually do something about them. Now, I'm sure people are going to continue to support them no matter what, because that's what people do. But if they are allowed to get away with quite literally saying that we're putting in minimal effort and then not changing their ways, then we are living in a bigger clown world than I thought.
Get what you fucking deserve!
And I'm not kidding you, I was actually grinning ear to ear, and this was the most fun that I had all season watching this show. And it doesn't stop there, because then Jen goes on this soliloquy about how Marvel movies are known for their spectacle and high-stake plot lines. And then she admitted that it's been said that Marvel movies always end the same way. And at this point, I'm just smiling even more and thinking this is just too good to be true. She proposes that they don't need all this flash and recognizable storylines for the She-Hulk finale. She says that the real story and the stakes of this show involves her life falling apart when she tries to balance both She-Hulk and Jen's lives.
That makes sense.
And yes, I agree, those should be the stakes in this story. But again, by pointing it out, all you're really doing is bringing attention to the fact that the writers of this show actually did a piss poor job of telling that story. In fact, I would say that most of the conflict in She-Hulk has been minimal, and by the end of the show, there's not really any kind of resolution either. Mostly because there wasn't anything really established to be resolved. She-Hulk then requests that Kevin erase parts of the finale, such as the leader of intelligentsia gaining powers, or when Hawk shows up to save the day and tell a story that's going to set up a future movie in the MCU. And this is yet again bringing light to one of Marvel Studios' biggest problems, that being an over-reliance on cameos from familiar characters. And this is where it started to feel like Christmas morning for me, because Marvel is quite literally destroying itself on screen, and I don't really even need to say anything anymore. But trust me, I will.
You snotty little bastard.
Of course, they follow this up by Jen bringing up Daredevil and the very first mention of the X-Men. And this pretty much confirms that this problem that they have will probably never change. Kevin then jokes with She-Hulk about seeing her in a movie down the line, to which she replies, "Really?" And he says, no. She-Hulk getting destroyed in her own show once again, and this has been happening all season long. So in this mega happy ending that Jen constructs with Kevin, she takes Todd to court, Daredevil shows up and becomes her lover, and Emil takes responsibility for all of his actions. Because Emil was this close to being cancelled.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now?
And before the show could end, they add one final thing to this shit sandwich. They have Smart Hulk arrive to a family barbecue and introduce everyone to his son, Scar. And Scar somehow looks even worse from a design perspective than even Smart Hulk does. And I didn't even think that was possible.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
She-Hulk has become the gift that keeps on giving for content creators like myself. At first, it was all about just how poorly this show was constructed. But by the finale, it reached new levels of gift giving, by confirming that all of the things that we think about the MCU are in fact true. It really is as formulaic and lazy as its critics claim that it is. And now we've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, so how can anyone deny it? For that reason, I'd actually like to thank She-Hulk for proving us all right. Even with this massive win for fandom, we still had to suffer through 8 episodes of garbage to get to something meaningful. That's why I'm giving She-Hulk overall the Disgusted Ian Malcolm.
That is one big pile of shit.
You bigots will never stop, will you? Why do you always have to ruin a good thing with logic? I believe that She-Hulk is the greatest achievement in MCU history. I like the fact that She-Hulk poked fun at the MCU. You just can't appreciate good humor. Saying that AI was in charge of the whole thing, and that's why every movie feels the same, is hilarious to me. I thought that it was brilliant writing to criticize all that, and to make the She-Hulk finale self-aware. Self-aware is something that Real Shift knows nothing about. All he knows how to be is an incel and a man-baby, and that's why he deserves to be cancelled.
Y'all be cool. Right on.